Usually when it comes to Genshin's summer events, they are what I can say to be an irrelevant story at first glance, but actually the most relevant one due to the foreshadowing it has. However, this quest doesn't seem to be that way because it's literally just a summer event, but it then hits you with a nuclear of a lore bomb. This update gave us a lot of lore on many things that I would dare to say the most superior summer events they ever gave us so far in terms of lore. Also, I am a bit biased why I say that because a lot of my theories are confirmed to be true in this questline. You should watch this video by the way. And unlike past events, the Hexen Circle are not involved. Well, to some extent at least. They are not involved in this quest, but one of them is heavily involved in major history of Teyvat. You'll understand why as we go. There are things I'm iffy about in this questline, like they have the audacity to make me do the stupid DJ thing after I was bawling my eyes out from Bennett's story. Or how the Enjou questline is not voiced, but overall, I had a lot of fun with this event. In today's video, I will do a brief recap on the Easy Breeze Holiday Resort and Enjou's questline, then we can start theorizing from there. As always, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. My name is Nekogitsune and I make lore and commentary videos on this channel to keep you company. But before that, Inova and Sidlali's banners are ending very soon. Both are strong characters, as Inova introduces a new meta to Not Cry update, while Sidlali is a strong support for forward melt reaction, which is one of the strongest teams for dealing damage. If you need extra power gems to pull for them, then allow me to introduce you to Lootbar. Lootbar is a reliable site for a fast, secure, and super reliable top-up experience for a Genesis Crystal. Additionally, they provide 25% discounts compared to normal prices in-game. Once you start your top-up, they will only ask for your UID, nothing else, so your privacy is guaranteed, and your items will arrive to your account in less than 2 minutes. If you're playing on PlayStation 5 or Xbox, they're available for both of them as well. Over 20,000 Trustpilot reviews are showing their satisfaction after using Lootbar, and if you have any problem with your transaction, their customer service is available around the clock to help you out. Other than Genshin Impact, Lootbar is also available for other games as well, such as Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, etc. Click the link in the description below and register to get an additional 10% coupon that can be combined with all other discounts. Now let's continue to the content. If you watch my videos often enough, you know I take half of the video duration to recap the storyline. But that won't be the case this time because 3/4 of the things we experience in this quest are literally just the casts having fun in Tenochtzitoc, and I know you're not here for that, so I'll just jump to the important things that we learned in this quest. In the middle of the fun, the gang found a cave in the middle of an attraction and clear abyssal monsters surrounding it. They also found a note of adventurers, which leaves the staff puzzled how there's such a thing. The note is basically a diary from one of the members in the Tech Battle Flameblades, a group of adventurers that consists Chakov from Flower Feather Clan, Aroni from Masters of the Nightwind, Makani from Collective of Plenty, and Anja from People of the Springs. Their dream is to have their name known to the entirety of Teyvat. However, the couple from Masters of the Nightwind and Collective of Plenty had a baby, and in order to take care of their child, the group decided to stop their adventure and have their final holiday in Tenochtzitoc. Anyway, the next day, everyone including Fenty enters a domain within a portal that suddenly appears in the middle of the resort. As per Mavwika, this portal is revealed to be a simulated Mare Jivari created by the Abyss, where Bennett's constellation hangs up in the sky. While everyone tries to find Bennett, he is confronted by a voice from the Abyss, soon taking his life away. But thankfully, the Ashas are able to save him from death, and with the help of Mavwika from the prayers and Fenty's power, the gang is able to save Bennett from danger, guiding him to the right path.
사랑하는 우리 아가, 아이는 잘 온다던데 내 기억 속에 너는 늘 웃는 얼굴이란다. 너는 흐르는 영혼길의 용을 봐도 차초 삼촌 모자에 흔들리는 깃털을 봐도 웃지. 네 아빠는 네가 밤하늘의 별을 보고 웃은 날부터 별 관측에 푹 빠졌단다. 너희 부자가 별의 계시라도 받았나 싶었는데 고개를 들어보니 별들이 미소 짓고 있더구나.
아론이 그만 쓰고 와. 너만 남았어. 단장 한마디 해.
그럼 고향의 번영과 영원한 우정, 그리고 우리 아름다운 여정을 위하여.
봐, 웃었어.
있잖아. 잘 웃는 아기한텐 행운이 깃든대.
그건 미신이잖아.
아, 진짜야.
네가 왜 그렇게 잘 웃는지는 우리도 잘 모르겠지만 아마도 우리의 사랑과 축복을 느껴서겠지? 모두의 사랑 속에서 너는 분명 행복한 아이가 될 거야.
심연 마무리 왜 이렇게 많은 거야?
도망쳐! 안 돼! 퇴로가 다 막혔어! 아론이! 아이를! 아론이!
우리 아가
정신 차려서! 내가 막을게!
나는 됐으니까 아이를 안전한 곳으로. 신이시여, 제 기도가 들리신다면 제 육신과 사랑, 기억을 연료로 바칠게요. 영혼이 돌아갈 곳을 잃고 황야를 떠돌게 될지라도 저의 모든 것을 바칠 테니 부디 이 아이를 살려주세요. 아가, 너는 커서 많은 친구가 생길 거야. 왜냐하면 너는 행운의 아이니까. 조금 더 웃어주겠니? 엄마가 한 번 더 볼 수 있게.
I kid you not, I was bawling my eyes out when I watched that. The answer to Bennett's unluckiness is that he is an Atlantis, and both these Ashas are his parents, Makani and Aroni. Don't! So, if you don't remember, the Natlanis are unable to leave their nation because their Wayab are unable to protect them outside of Natlan. Their power is needed to fight against the Abyss, and it's only recently that Natlanis are able to leave their nation because the war is over. Because Bennett was found by an adventurer who brought him to Mondstadt, Bennett was cut off from the Night Kingdom, and this is the reason why Bennett has been very unlucky until he returned to Natlan for his holiday. As for how Bennett's parents turned out like this, it's revealed by Fenty that some of the souls who are unable to return to the ley lines merged with Monitus, hence why Bennett's parents turned out the way they are. You might not know this, but this is actually accurate in real life because souls do have colors. It's the same with the Ashas, who are able to color its surroundings with paints using phlogiston, and there's a specific world quest that tells a Monitu that cannot color its surroundings with purple. Anyways, after a warm reunion, everyone parties, which I am not going to show the cutscene because oh my god, it ruins the mood. If you want to hear what it sounds like in Korean, you can go to the Korean Genshin channel. After the party, Bennett and his parents are having a proper family reunion together, and this scene, I swear to god, I was bawling before and it made me bawling again. Because, I mean, look. Can you imagine being an orphan from a very young age, finally meeting your parents in the form of spirits? And if you're the parents, can you imagine how sad it is being unable to be there to take care of your baby? Personally, this is one of, if not the saddest scenes in this game so far, because I never cried this hard in Genshin Impact. What makes it so powerful is not because of the fantasy or the effects, but because of how realistic the feeling is. I can't imagine how painful it must have been to finally find your parents and only be able to speak with them for a few hours after not meeting them for your whole life. This reminds me of a past event called Tenochtitoc's Adventure because it was not the son who is sick, but the mother who is unable to move on from her son who already passed away. Oh my god. Oh my god, Jesus Christ, just reading this script already makes me tear up. That's how weak I am to family stories like this. If you follow me long enough, you should already know the reason why, and this kind of story always gets me, okay? Alright, enough sub stuff. On the final day, everyone prepares to return home, but Fenty wanted to meet us in private. This part of the quest is relevant to the overall lore and Enjou's quest because here, we learn how Teyvat was made, or at least how Teyvat after being usurped was made, and what happened to Mare Jivari. It's also interesting because Fenty doesn't refer to the ruler of time's name directly, but he refers to her name as Time, which is quite accurate with how the shades don't want to be referred by their actual name. Except for Mavuika, she has guts to do it. Anyway, Fenty reveals that Istaroth was the one who created the story of this world. By that, he meant how encounters were made, how farewells become, memory of the people, and even how events underwent by using her own memory. This is a crazy reveal because it further solidifies my theory that the Heavenly Principles' home was indeed destroyed before he went to Teyvat, but we'll talk about that in the theory section. It's also implied that Istaroth was the one who granted Fenty a part of her authority and time, also solidifying a theory I made in my past video that the Shades are directly involved in granting Archons their respective power. It's proven with Xbalanque and Fenty, which should be the same case with other Archons as well. As for Mare Jivari itself, it's a calamity that is tied to time and will always be present in every moment that will ever be. Basically, the time in Mare Jivari is corrupted by the Abyss. In order to prevent the corruption of Mare Jivari to spread beyond Tenochtzitoc, Fenty blew Mare Jivari away from the timeline. Alas, it became the Windless Land. However, it's worth noting that this is only a part of Mare Jivari's history because according to Fenty, the story behind it is more than that. Anyway, even though this saved Teyvat, it came at a great cost, and that is a lot of souls were unable to return to the ley lines or to the Night Kingdom. Some of them merged with the local Monitus and became Ashas just like Makani and Aroni. Again, don't. Speaking of them, this comes to Fenty's true reason to visit Tenochtzitoc, and that is by collaborating with Mavuika to bring back the souls that wish to return. The candle is the signal, and by doing this, Mavuika opened a rift to the true Mare Jivari, while Fenty collected all of the souls. This also makes both Makani and Aroni able to turn themselves into humanoid spirits because their memories were returned by Fenty. In any case, Fenty wished that he could protect Mondstadt and everyone, and this is where the Sunspray Summer Resort questline officially ends. Now let's move on to Enjou's questline, the last survivor of Tenochtzitoc. Just like last time, I'll keep it to the point. It all started when an actor was acting strange. This actor somehow recites a line from his play, but they somehow become a lot more aggressive to the point he believes he is the character he is playing and attacks people surrounding him. After getting Layla to do clairvoyance, it leads to 3 Ashas and a familiar figure that will be relevant as well as we go through the quest. Also, if you play the Iktomi Spirit Seeking Scroll, this is a huge change to Layla because he is heavily influenced by Ororon's man-child behavior. I was laughing a lot at this part. Anyway, shortly after the Traveler and Paimon find the Ashas, Citlali appears and informs the Traveler and Paimon about Enjou's whereabouts in Tenochtzitoc. Everyone investigates the surrounding area, and here we found some interesting lore about what happened in Mare Jivari. So remembered when I said one of the Hexen Circle is involved? That member is none other than Rhinedottir. It is revealed that her own creation, the Bakunawa, swallowed a part of her body and even she herself can't control it. It is also said that the Bakunawa was not created using the power of life, but is using the power from a transcendent abyssal power that even the Abyss Order couldn't understand. Another is how there's a conflicting timeline within the Mare Jivari. I talk about this in my livestream analysis video about how there's a strange conflicting timeline in this place, and it's further confirmed by the Abyss Order how they pointed out strange events that happened with the Wanderer's Troop history and the disappearance of Mare Jivari. Because here's the thing, the events with the Wanderer's Troop and how they even left Bakunawa's body to the Knights of Avonius happened thousands of years ago, but we learned from Citlali that Mare Jivari appeared 500 years ago. Even if the land already existed prior to what Citlali told us, which I assume to be that way, how does the Wanderer's Troop artifact set, the set that is meant only for the players to aware the real history of Teyvat, refer to the said land as Mare Jivari, and why do Mondstadt's history already wrote the land as Mare Jivari? We'll talk about this later, but they also found a cave leading to somewhere peculiar. Anyway, we then learn that the actor is not even the actor, but is Enjou disguising himself. It's also the origin of the infamous meme where Citlali said close off and made it out of context. As Enjou flees, everyone enters the cave, and with the help of the Ashas, the group is able to enter an area where it seems to be Tenoch and the 6 heroes' graveyards. The traveler is then transported somewhere else while Citlali is confronted by Enjou, whose goal is of course trying to find a way to get into Mare Jivari. In the meantime, the traveler entered the Night Kingdom, which leads to one thing: the area we visited is the gateway to Mare Jivari, because if you remember, Sunhatch, one of the 6 heroes, created a miniature Night Kingdom in order to seal the Bakunawa away. To be honest with you all, seeing this felt so surreal because I never thought the Night Kingdom would be shown, but here we are. There are also souls in here, and if you try to brute force yourself, the souls will attack you, which could imply they try to keep people who are trying to enter the Mare Jivari away. The Traveler and Paimon entered the Mare Jivari, and unlike last time, this is the Mare Jivari, the Windless Land. Enjou caught up to the Traveler, and this time, Citlali is also in Enjou's body, where she places half of her consciousness to his body, while the other remains in the grave. So the one who stands before them is the Bakunawa itself, or at least a permeation of it, which even then, this thing is still ridiculously powerful, and is revealed by Enjou that the Bakunawa is the monster that corrupts time in Mare Jivari. Now, the Bakunawa battle itself is insane because it's definitely unique and not something that you can just beat normally. I mean, sure, if you swipe your card then maybe you could, but with how weird the Bakunawa's hitbox is, it's extremely inconvenient to even do it that way. Honestly, if the Bakunawa becomes the endgame of this game, then I hope it retains this mechanic because I really want something different from this game where the endgame is not just beat this monster within the time limit type of thing. After the battle, Enjou reveals even more lore. You see, there is a meme that Enjou is a living lore bomb that surpassed even most of the Archons, and that's because of the Enkanomiya questline where he revealed that the Abyss Order needs to find the book called Before Sun and Moon to confirm that the Heavenly Principles is not part of Teyvat. That book itself is indeed true and has proven its worth many times and has become the fundamental part of Genshin's lore. You can say it's like the roadmap of Genshin's lore, or even Genshin's story in general. And it's not only the Before Sun and Moon, but the entirety of Byakuyakoku collection, because that book foreshadowed New Velet and even the pirate dragons that are different from the rest of the fiships. So you know, when Enjou appears in Natlan to find the Mare Jivari, his appearance might be more than just a normal visit, and this quest did not disappoint, as the lore is probably some of the biggest and some of the most mind-blowing ones so far. Enjou revealed that Tenoch is indeed not part of the 6 existing tribes, but from a lost tribe. I'll give you a deciphered version of this story later, but because it's not fully confirmed yet and is a heavy speculation on my part, I'll tell you about it in the theory section. Once, a kingdom existed thousands of years ago, but a powerful enemy attacked them, causing their king to sacrifice himself to save his people. Later, a new king was appointed, but the evil corruption still lurks within the land, corrupting the new king and resulting in the kingdom to split into many factions. Civil war broke out and the evil king was slain, but this ended up causing the followers of the evil king to be exiled. These exiles were split into 2, one abandoned their homeland completely, while the others were allowed to settle elsewhere, albeit in the most barren part of the nation, and been neglected by the kingdom for millennia. One day, darkness returned. The kingdom is still divided, but the group of exiles were the first to raise their weapon until one remains. That brave warrior is none other than Tenoch, and the barren land of the nation is now known as Tenochtzitoc. These exiles are the wielders of Venimo, the missing element of the 6 tribes that we know of today. It is also said that 500 years before departing from their homeland, which should be around 1000 years ago, the other half of the exiles who left their homeland headed to the true land of Venimo, and they were known with another name, Muratans. Yes, that Muratans from the manga, and that land of Venimo is none other than Mondstadt. We'll talk about this later, but here's another surprising Enjou lore. He witnessed all of the major history of Tevat, from the fall of Solvin-Diknir, the fall of Enkanomia, the fall of Gurabat, the fall of Removia, the fall of Otskanatlan, the fall of Mondstadt's aristocracy, the forming of Guild Assembly, the war between Orobashi's loyalists and the Narukami, the details of how people of Tenochtitlan perished from the battle, and even the Muratan's journey to Mondstadt. But even then, none of them are his memories, and the Abyss Order is not his home. I know, you can't believe how much of a huge lore that was, because Enjou is definitely not just an ordinary NPC, but something else that is way beyond our imagination. It's just unfortunate that he have the usual NPC model. I just hope they update it. After that, Enjou gave the traveler a final gift, the Lavawalker's resolution. You just know, I watching that was just filled with yeah, literally. I was just so surprised. This amount of lore, I was not ready for it. Before he left, he made a promise with Citlali, who is still on his mind, promising that one day he'll tell his real name and his real ambition. But without Bakunawa's power, we will never enter the true Mare Jivari as Enjou walked to the windless land, not looking back and moving forward. The Traveler and Paimon are able to exit the land, and Citlali informs them that there are tombstones around the names of the past Pyro Archons. Not only that, knowing the connections between Mavuika and the Six Heroes, it's very unlikely for her to not know anything, so Citlali told the Traveler and Paimon that she'll talk to Mavuika about this and will let the Traveler to be the first to know. Until then, it's best to keep this a secret until more information comes out of her. This is where the last survivor of Tenochtitoc officially ends. Are you mind blown? Yes, so am I. This is an extremely mind-blowing questline because both the main quest and the Enjou quest reveal some insane lore bombs that I never thought would make me go insane. We have a lot of things to talk about, so let's do this. But of course, allow me to interrupt your time by reminding you that I did a lot of research in making this video, so I'll appreciate it if you like and subscribe to this channel, because not only it helps this channel to get pushed by the algorithm, but also lets me know that I'm doing an amazing job. With that said, let's continue. Like how we do it in this channel, let's start with the least to the most interesting part of the theory section. But in my opinion, everything in this questline is already interesting enough, so don't forget to get strapped in. So what Enjou talk about could likely be Xbalanque and Otskan, where Xbalanque sacrificed himself to defeat the Pyro Dragon Xiuhua, but soon revived from the flames, became the new Pyro Archon. The Cinder City was soon found by Xbalanque's followers, and after he ascended to the Sacred Flame, Otskan became the new king and renamed the city as Otskanatlan. He soon betrayed the oath that Xbalanque made to create peace with the dragons, making him become a tyrant. During this time, the kingdom is also split into 6 tribes, which could mean that the final tribe is the followers of Otskan. Otskan's reign was soon overthrown by the second Pyro Archon, known as the Scarlet-Eyed Youth, and because the Muratans are indirectly mentioned by Mavuika's signature weapon and in the City of Tolan World Quest, then that lost animal tribe was exiled because they were the followers of Otskan. Half of them left Natlan, while the others stayed in Tenochtitoc. This explains why Tenoch has a very ambiguous origin, because prior to this update, Tenoch does not belong to any of the tribe, but he was exiled, which is very confusing of a statement because where was his origin if he's not from any of the 6 tribes then? Turns out, he is from the Lost Animal tribe, and the name of this world quest makes a lot of sense. Tenoch is the last survivor of Tenochtitoc. Do note that this lost tribe and the Muratans are not necessarily the same, because the Muratans are the exiles that decide to leave Natlan, while the others is Tenoch's tribe. So far, Tenoch's tribe is still left unnamed. Now, there has been a discussion that resurfaced recently that Murata, the Pyro Archon from the manga, doesn't exist because there's a huge translation discrepancy where the word Murata in the original Chinese, Japanese, and even Spanish referred to as Muratan people, but never mentioned Murata as the Archon. The Lady of Fire is there, but in the original translation, it's left unnamed. In fact, the word Murata is referring to a name of a nation which is very unlikely to refer to Natlan because it has its own Japanese and Chinese letters. It could however refer to the real Mare Jivari because the name Mu could likely derive from the land of Mu, a continent that is part of the Atlantis. Atlantis is also one of the main references that was used to create the old Natlan, or Natlantia in this case, when it used to be ruled by the dragons and is also part of the root cycles of Teyvat from the Death Notes. So it's very likely that Murata refers to what Mare Jivari used to be. You might not remember, but Mare Jivari and Tenochtzitoc used to be one area. It's just that 20 to 30 years ago, it disappeared after being swallowed by Bakunawa. The timeline regarding this land is so messy that even Fenty doesn't know the whole details of how Mare Jivari recently disappeared. Anyway, the point is that Murata is still an ambiguous name, and whether she really exists or not, this is something that I cannot confirm myself, but I want to believe that she might exist. If I put my artistic brain for now, it's possible that it was started as a mistranslation and it could lead to them retconning the original story a bit to what we see now. Because here's the thing, even though a lot of people know that it is a mistranslation, a lot of people, including myself, always believe that Murata did exist because the content in the EN translation was from the official. But again, I'll stop there because until there's official confirmation, the canon lore we have right now is that Tenoch is a descendant of Ochkan's followers and is part of the lost animal tribe. Half of them are known as Muratans and eventually came to Mondstadt. We can talk about Vanessa and her tribe in another video. Now let's talk about Mare Jivari itself. So Mare Jivari is a rather unique place because it has always been mentioned to us all the way in 1.0, referred to as the Windless Land according to the game's lore. But even then, a lot of things we know about Mare Jivari are almost non-existent. Ever since the game's release, there are implications that Fenty was involved because in his story quest, we learned that Fenty was the one that saved Stanley's soul during his story quest. Istaroth has implications of her involvement because it has always been hinted that time and wind are strongly connected, but it was rather vague information and it's only been confirmed recently. Another is how Vanessa being a tribe from Natlan and her tribe was never mentioned through the entirety of Natlan's patch until recently, where we are revealed how her tribe is connected to Mare Jivari and how it disappeared from the face of Teyvat. Even weirder, there are strange conflicting timelines that even the game itself points out. It says that Mare Jivari is known to be that land after what Sanhaj did, but how come that Mondstadt's history already wrote the land as Mare Jivari for thousands of years? It makes no sense because even if the land is known to be a nameless land, that doesn't explain why Wanderer's troop already knew the land's name. Even weirder, Rhinedottir's creation is from thousands of years ago and it's very unlikely for Rhinedottir to live that long. So what really happened? There are two possibilities that I can think of that make sense, and both are connected towards each other. First, Rhinedottir might actually live for thousands of years. You see, Rhinedottir's power is equivalent to Nibirius, and that is she wields the power of life. It's also mentioned in the Abyss Order's note as well, implying it to be the case, and this is also canon information that we learn from the Stygian Onslaught anti-peasant skid. Anyways, it might be possible that Rhinedottir is part of the Kyrian civilization from the Crimson Moon dynasty, where this dynasty is implied to have strong connection towards death. But Rhinedottir is the opposite of that, and assuming she has been trying to reach perfection for a very long time, her first breakthrough might be to make herself immortal even before the curse of immortality was put to the Kyrians. I say this because based on her anti-peasant weapon and her chapter in The Little Witch and the Undying Fire, she has a tendency to devour things to test it on herself. The Bakunawa monster has the same behavior as her master, and that is devouring something to become stronger. It even ate Rhinedottir's body part, and judging from the way Enjou said it, it seems that Bakunawa became stronger after it did so. If I can guess, it might have eaten Rhinedottir's right arm, which matches with the God's Limits trailer, where her right arm is blue while the other is still human skin. It's also implied in the Little Witch and the Undying Fire that the Little Witch has to defeat the Demon Kings in order to become stronger, and this could imply that Rhinedottir's way to continue sustaining herself is by defeating gods from the past. Her sword's name is the Serpent Devourer, meaning she likely defeated a snake-related god, or she defeated dragons back in her past because snakes and dragons are referred to as one family in Genshin's lore. However, this still doesn't explain why the land's name is Mare Jivari, and this comes to the second explanation. Now, one thing that I find very interesting from the Tenochtitoc's questline is how Istaroth created time in Teyvat, and that is by using her memories. This could explain why time in Teyvat and the Abyss flow differently, because everything that happened in Teyvat are things that already happened in the past, which should be the Heavenly Principles' previous home. Based on the Renes notes, it is implied that Teyvat has been experiencing four samsaras, that being Hyperborea, Natlantia, Remuria, and currently, Kron Aria. We also learned that the skies of Teyvat are tied to the fate of humanity. All these things could likely relate to Istaroth as well, where everything that is made within this world are using her memories. This could explain why she is constantly tired, because she is trying to retain the flow of time. You know, this reminds me of Barbeloth and Andestar's role in Simulanka, because in that world, Barbeloth is the one responsible for creating fate of the residents by tying them to the sky, while Andestar is the one who created the concept of the people of Simulanka. This concept could be the same with Istaroth. By using the memories of the previous world, she is able to create the fate of humanity in Teyvat. Now, this is where Mare Jivari's problem arises. It is implied in both Tenochtitoc and Enjou's questline that the time in Mare Jivari is corrupted. With the information I just told you, this could mean that this abyssal power corrupts time itself, and the Bakunawa was made by using the same abyssal power. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this power is similar to the Forbidden Knowledge, because both these powers have one thing in common. No one can understand it. Rukkhadevata cannot understand what the Forbidden Knowledge is, and in this case, Rhinedottir and even the Abyss Order can't understand what sort of power Bakunawa has. Something I find interesting here is how Istaroth allowed Fenty to sweep Mare Jivari's timeline away, because in order for the Archons to do something that, let's just say, do something beyond their capability, they have to ask the permission of the Shades to do so. We saw this 3 times in fact. First was in Inazuma, where Makoto asked Istaroth to bring the Sacred Sakura to the past. Second was in Natlan, where Xbalanque asked Renova to lend her power to him. And finally, Fenty, who likely asked Istaroth to do something about Mare Jivari, because it's impossible for Fenty to do just that by himself. One of you actually explained it really well, and I agree with this take. In order for me to even create this theory, I have to do intensive research, because I believe it's not as simple as Istaroth indirectly helping Fenty to sweep the timeline away. I actually watched Ashikai's video about time travel in space and time for your Archon quest, and the same idea I have in mind is how Istaroth and Asmodee might have collaborated with each other in that quest. Everything that is related to Istaroth mending time per se is by having a different space and time in order to quote-unquote change history. This happened in Raiden's second story quest, and this also happened in Space and Time for You, where Istaroth's involvement in time-mending shenanigans happened in a different space where time flows differently. Like, you know, time and space are intertwined. Without space, there will be no place for the events to occur. If there's no time, there will be no sequence or duration for those events. Fate and time are also intertwined. Fate needs time for it to occur, and time needs space for fate to happen. This reminds me of Pokemon in Generation 4, where Dialga and Palkia need each other so time and space on Earth stay stable. There's also Giratina, where its dominion has no time and space, everything is a mess, and no one lives in it because nothing can exist. This could be the same case with Mare Jivari, but during this time, it's heavily implied that Asmodee already went missing, so it's rather unlikely for Istaroth to just give her authority away to Fenty and then timeline swept, and everything fixed. Even Venti himself said that he only plays a part of it. This then reminds me of the miniature Night Kingdom that Sanhaj made, because this could be the vessel of Mare Jivari's quote-unquote space. Citlali said it herself that the moment they enter the Six Heroes' grave, they're no longer in Outland, which means they're already somewhere else. They're already in a different space and time. Somewhere that is far away so no one can enter it, or so to say, somewhere in a different timeline that is impossible to enter. These souls in the Night Kingdom could be both the Pyro Archons and the souls who are unable to leave Mare Jivari because it's already been disconnected from Teyvat's timeline. Take it like this: Istaroth grants Venti the permission to sweep Mare Jivari's timeline away, because if it continues to exist in Teyvat, it will corrupt the entirety of Teyvat, therefore corrupt Istaroth's entire memory. But then she probably allows Venti to do it because there's the miniature Night Kingdom that Sanhaj created, so for him to be able to sweep it away, then the space to contain the corrupted time in Mare Jivari needs to exist first. Because time flows differently here, it could be the reason why the name Mare Jivari exists even back in the past, and it exists way longer than it should have been, because if Rhinedottir doesn't exist way back then the time corruption in Mare Jivari likely happened not only in the present, but also in the past and future. Bakunawa is of course the source of the corruption, we already knew that. When Rhinedottir created it, it already affected the entirety of Teyvat, and if Rhinedottir was born 500 years ago and not longer than that, then the Bakunawa has corrupted the entirety of Teyvat's timeline once it was created. Now Rhinedottir herself is literally the terrorist of Teyvat, and while she is not the only one, she is known to be the most notorious one so far that even Nibirius has to monitor her movements. This could be the reason why Rhinedottir became the new ruler of life, so Nibirius can monitor her because she is just that dangerous. Imprisoning Bakunawa is likely not just a walk in the park, because until now, it's not yet defeated, and what we fought is just a part of it. It's revealed in the notes you obtain from defeating Bakunawa plenty of times, and it's likely that these notes are Stanley's notes before he died or his soul was collected by Venti. Istaroth's exhausted behavior is likely not just from maintaining time, but likely to keep Bakunawa away, because if this thing is let loose, Teyvat will be swallowed by it. Also, because Teyvat's timeline was made using Istaroth's memory, Bakunawa is likely corrupting Istaroth herself. Basically, the connection between the two is that Istaroth allowed Venti to sweep Mare Jivari away in order to keep Bakunawa from being loose. Now, there's one more entity that made this even more ambiguous, and that is Enjou. This will be the final theory for this video, and it's related to everyone's most favorite NPC, Enjou. According to him, what we saw is just the entrance of Mare Jivari, because there's the true version of it. In order to enter it, the traveler needs the Bakunawa's power, but it doesn't really explain why and how Enjou can enter it. Sure, it did approach the monster and he might take some of Bakunawa's power away, but he never even interacts with it that much other than trying to familiarize with it. We saw it with our own eyes because even Paimon, the traveler, and Citlali stopped him before he could do anything. What if I tell you that Enjou is an entity called the Lavawalker? If you heard of this name before but couldn't get your mind where you learned it from, then allow me to introduce you to a 1.0 artifact set called the Lavawalker, where only Lini and Monopyrocles can use it. I'm not joking, this artifact is so forgotten in the meta that a lot of people forgot about it. But regardless, everything that happened in Enjou's questline references a lot of things that happen in this artifact set. Enjou gave us the Lavawalker's resolution, and he even said it himself that the traveler will probably never see him again, the same exact line that is spoken in the Lavawalker's flower piece. The flower is also said to glow to the edge of Mare Jivari, literally the place we are in, but the Lavawalker remains to be seen, just like Enjou, who is able to walk deeper within Mare Jivari. Now, there are some counter-arguments that say Enjou is not the Lavawalker because the avatar's name is the Scholar, while the Lavawalker set refers to the Lavawalker as the Sage. That could likely be the case, but that doesn't necessarily prove a lot of things given the mystery behind this man. You see, Enjou is not just an Abyss Order goon. His history runs deep because how in the world can he have the ancient history of Teyvat all the way from the fall of Sol Vindicnir? Just for reference, Sol Vindicnir's fall was all the way from 6,000 years ago, literally the same time when Zhongli was born and when the Celestial Nails were cast after the War of Vengeance and the First Angel's Rebellion. How the can he have that insane amount of memories? Well, there's two possibilities because even I still find Enjou's identity ambiguous. Now sure, this is the most obvious answer given the amount of hints we got already, but that doesn't explain why he is the Lavawalker because it is implied that the Lavawalker is already dead. But the thing is, was he really dead? The thing that is mentioned is that his soul that is burnt away, but not his flesh. But even then, it's never mentioned that the soul literally burned away and he passed away. He feels sorrow because he couldn't take the torment of being alone in the sea of flames for that long, so it's nothing more than a metaphor. It's implied in the Sans piece of this artifact set that the Lavawalker's story continues even after he crosses the Mare Jivari. What's interesting is that the Lavawalker is described to be a smart individual, and the moment his spears demanded him to enter the Mare Jivari with a circlet he created to resist the flames of the sage place, he just enters and no one ever sees him again. But the thing is, there's no clear reason why the Lavawalker entered Mare Jivari to begin with, and this was assumed thousands of years ago. The artifact even mentioned a phoenix, and this phoenix was never mentioned in this quest. Now let's take this idea that Enjou is the Lavawalker. Because the passage of time in Mare Jivari is corrupted, then Enjou might have been affected by this corruption as well. There are two ways to explain this, and him joining the Abyss Order could be related to this corruption. You see, most, if not all of the Abyss Order members are people from Khaenri'ah who decide to harness the power of the Abyss to rebel against the heavenly principles. But whether all of them are Khaenri'ahns or not is not yet clarified, and Enjou might be one of those people who is not a Khaenri'ahn. Especially, his position in the Abyss Order is just a clerk, literally just a staff, an apprentice, a salesperson if I have to go even lower. Enjou's position in the Abyss Order is on the lower end of the spectrum, yet his past is way more mysterious than most of the Abyss Order members. Like sure, most of them are Khaenri'ahns and we know a lot about it already, but Enjou, who is literally a mix of everything, makes it so weird. The reason could be Fenty's influence in sweeping the timeline away from Teyvat, because here's the thing, the Lavawalker is said to have resided in there for unknown amount of time, thousands, hundreds, who knows, and some even say he just disappeared into nothingness. If we assume that Mare Jivari is like a medium to travel at any point of time after the Bakunawa existed, then that could answer why Lavawalker just disappeared. It's also said by Fenty that Mare Jivari is a calamity that exists in every moment that will ever be, and this could be the reason why Enjou, who is the Lavawalker, could remember every single part of the history. But the moment Fenty sweeps the timeline away, what if the Lavawalker is still in there, and this results in him being blown away along with Mare Jivari to pieces? What if his memories are split into many pieces, resulting him able to remember everything about the past history? I mentioned most of the Abyss Order members are Khaenri'ahn, but if you follow me long enough, you know there's one theory I have in this channel, and that is how Khaenri'ah was made by either the Voyager or the youth from the finale of the Deep Galleries. Now let's face it, out of the two options, this one is very unlikely given the only connection it has is the past theory I have in this channel. But hear me out, okay? It'll make things a lot more sense once you hear it. So one thing that you need to know is that the Voyager is not one, but two entities. One is of course the Voyager herself, the other is the youth that she put her consciousness to. The youth is described as a young boy according to the finale of the Deep Galleries, and based on what we know according to records of Jiwei-yun, the first angel and the Voyager, along with the youth in this case, are eternally separated and have their memories completely wiped. Now one thing I personally find odd here is, whose memories between the Voyager and the youths are being completely wiped? Because in the Voyager's case, it was her consciousness, but her real body is somewhere else. Not only that, remember how fate is made in Teyvat? It was using Istaroth's memory, how things are born, how events unfold, how one meets their end. It was already predetermined, and Istaroth is essentially responsible for creating the story of humanity. Think of it like the three goddesses of Similanka, okay? Istaroth is essentially like Anders' daughter who created the story, the Beerus and Renova are like Alice who materialized the place, and Asmodee is like Barbaloth who created the false sky. Because the Voyager is not from Teyvat, then her fate is not tied to the false sky and the Irminsul, ergo she is not within Istaroth's memory. She is not part of the story, therefore she either watched things unfold or changed the history as a third party. So despite the heavenly principles making the first angel's lover's memory completely wiped, we can essentially say that their Stella Fortuna is either being taken away from the false sky or their data is wiped from the Irminsul, but it only affects the youth, not the Voyager. Now back to Enjou again. He described his memory as like a shooting stars, fading across the stars then fading into nothing. That's a very specific metaphor, and not only that, fits with how the fate and or memories of humans in Teyvat work. Everything ties to the false sky and the Irminsul. Not only that, if you remember how Scaramouche deleted himself from the Irminsul, he did not completely disappear, but rather turned as someone else. He is still a bionic puppet created by the Raiden Shogun, it's just that he remembered it in a different way. His story still happened, it's just that people remember it differently. The youth's memory is completely wiped, and because the artifact nor records of Jueyun describe how the youth or the Voyager died, then the two are likely still alive, and the youth remembers himself as something else. Him and the first angel are doomed to never see each other again, and just like Wanderer, what if the youth is also wandering around the world right now? The Irminsul in Hyperborea should already be destroyed, and oddly enough, Enjou doesn't have any memory of this place. He even said that none of these memories are his home. So what if his real home is Hyperborea? The Lavawalker set also never specified where the Lavawalker is from, so what if the Lavawalker, or Enjou in this case, is the youth who went to Mare Jivari to wander around eternally? After all, the set doesn't specify his goal to go there. He just wanders around, and it's just now that we learn that Enjou is still trying to find his real home. Not only that, it's rather poetic if you think about it, because the youth hails from the land of Cryo. Then he forgot all of his memories, associating himself with Pyro. But not only that, Mare Jivari is the Sea of Flames, and also a place where many stories are being told. Time is corrupted, and the story of the first angel or Hyperborea itself is a story that even the heavenly principles don't want anyone to know. Even the origin of humans in Teyvat is a huge no for everyone to know because Orobashi got executed for fighting the truth. If you ask me, I think Mare Jivari is an interesting place, and I would dare to say it's probably intentional for the timeline to be so conflicting. The ambiguity on what happened to the youth could relate to this place, and the Lavawalker could be what the youth has become. Here's the thing, I don't think the Shades, especially Istaroth, is not aware of Mare Jivari to be a place of a corrupted time to begin with because she knows how everything should be. Istaroth could likely just allow Fenty to sweep the timeline away because she knows that it's intentional for Mare Jivari to be that kind of place anyway. I wanted to think that Mare Jivari is like a dumpster of Teyvat's history. Everything that should not exist, everything that the heavenly principles doesn't want the people of Teyvat to know, or just trying to hide the dirtiest laundry. Bakunawa is being stored here definitely has a reason why, and because Rhinedottir is associated with this place, the heavenly principles, or his shades in this case, know that what Rhinedottir created will destroy everything, hence why it's being stored in this place. Now of course, it could likely have some sort of relation with the moon, and is pretty much the reason why Mare Jivari will be released in the Song of Welkin Moon update. And it's probably not just a world quest, but rather the main Archon quest. Bakunawa also derives from the Philippines mythology of the said name and is also described as the Moon Devourer. The Phoenix equivalent is Minokawa, which we would likely learn about it once Mare Jivari is out. Personally right now, I don't really have a lot of theories about Bakunawa and the moon because there really isn't much information about it. And if you watch my channel enough, I don't really take real life references into face value, so I don't really talk about it right now. But of course, you can rebattle Bakunawa from time to time, and every time you defeat it, it will grant the players a small note. And so far, these notes are from Stanley, and I think there are more than that. So far, there's only 3 by the time this video is being made, and depending on how lore bomby that note is, I'm going to make a separate video about Bakunawa. Overall, it's good to know that Mare Jivari is not yet complete. Enjou said it himself, we will never enter the true Mare Jivari without Bakunawa's power, so it's very likely that we'll get Rhinedottir's aid to enter this place, which honestly, it's an interesting way to enter this place if I put it in another way, because in my opinion, Rhinedottir is the most evil character in this game. I actually made a post about it not too long ago, and of course, the comments are very scattered when it comes to Dottore and Rhinedottir. I'll make a video about it soon, but for now, let me know what you think about Mare Jivari in the comments down below. Jana!